I want everyone to kind of put on their imagination station hats, okay? Imagine an organization with a culture of innovation and adaptiveness, where the members of the organization are aligned in achieving tough, challenging objectives. Oftentimes these are called breakthrough objectives. And those objectives are alignment with top leadership's vision of the organization decades into the future, right? So everyone, innovation, adaptiveness is the daily routine. You know, some of the characteristics of that culture that we would see is everybody feels part of a team, right? If we're not all marching to a common good, we just can feel disenfranchised or disengaged. But with this kind of a culture, everyone feels part of a team, right? Senior leadership's vision and organizational activities are absolutely aligned. Strategy and continuous improvement activities are connected. We don't have random continuous improvement events, but rather continuous improvement events and continuous improvement activities directly in alignment with the organizational strategy. Let's see. We have a quick cycle, nearly daily, in most cases, improvement occurring across the organization. And we have an organization focused on developing skills of innovation, adaptiveness, and continuous improvement, and developing that skill across the entire organization. This kind of an organization is a reflection of the mindset of the members of the organization, a mindset where people enthusiastically take on bigger and bigger challenges, developing new organizational capabilities with a real sense of self-efficacy. And by self-efficacy, I mean a belief in their own capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce specific performance results. And these performance results are beyond our current level of performance, levels of performance we've never achieved before. And what happens with practicing more and more of these behaviors, developing, per se, the skill, the self-efficacy improves, and people become more and more comfortable striving for results they do not yet know how to achieve. Kind of out there in their zone of uncertainty, not deploying what we already know how to do, but actually striving for something we do not yet know how to do. The necessary behaviors have been deliberately practiced under the guidance of a qualified and vested coach, and the behaviors are based on the scientific methodology where members traverse this uncharted territory. In this display, I'm calling it the gray zone, where we traverse and move through this uncharted territory, not just implementing tools or applying solutions developed by others, but rather going on a journey of discovery to identify innovative, original ways to overcome obstacles on their way to previously unachieved levels of performance. So now that we've envisioned that challenge, that vision of that innovative adapture, you know, to me it sounds kind of, wow, grandiose, utopian, you know, a little daunting. And how do we get from where we are to that kind of a culture across a broad range of organizations? And this kind of culture and cultural development has actually been studied, summarized, and operationalized. And it's been actually published in a book called Toyota Kata, written by Mike Rother. I think it's been out since about 2008, 2009, and it's been gaining worldwide recognition for its insightful perspective, as well as its ability to help operationalize what kinds of behaviors would lead to a mindset in an individual that could be replicated across an organization to build this very specific culture based on managing people for improvement, adaptiveness, and superior results. And embedded in that book, Mike really introduces the operationalized or routine behaviors broken into two categories that we're going to cover this morning. One is the Improvement Kata, the other is the Companion Coaching Kata. So let's start with Kata. You're going to hear me say this word over and over again. And Kata is a word, it's a phrase that means a way of doing. And a kata is a routine you practice so that it becomes a habit. Through practicing the pattern of a kata, it becomes second nature. It's done with little or no conscious attention. It's quick memory, readily available, almost automatic, autopilot kind of responses. And that is what the Improvement Kata is. It's a routine that you can practice so that that way of thinking and acting just becomes second nature. And it's a meta routine, meaning that it's really content neutral. This means that it can be used on any kind of process that you may have in your organization, whether that process is transactional, manual, cerebral, in healthcare, or manufacturing, or product development, or project management, whatever kind of processes you have, this routine can be applied over the top. And it's process neutral, meaning it can be the very smallest within your organization, 1 or 2 or 10-step process, or it could be higher level strategic processes, or what you may call value streams. The routine of the Improvement Kata and its companion coaching is applicable to any type of process you can find within your organization. So let's take a look at what those routines are. We have 2 main players we're going to talk about today. One is what we call the learner. I like to think of this as the natural process owner. It could be someone working in the process, it could be someone supervising the process, or engineering the process. It's basically the natural process owner. And they're going to go through a series of routines or steps within the Improvement Kata, but they're going to be coached along the way by this qualified and vested coach. So here are the routines a little bit more closely. The first routine is to understand the direction. This is about grasping an understanding of where this process needs to be performing so that the organization can achieve its breakthrough objectives, what in Kata terms we call the challenge. And as the learner, as the natural process owner, I have to understand the ultimate direction the organization is going. Then I have to grasp the current condition as it relates to that vision and challenge. So it kind of helps scope the extent of process analysis I'm going to do. So I grasp my current condition as it relates to that vision and challenge. And then I establish a next target condition, somewhere between where I am and where I'm ultimately going. And then the fourth routine I practice is a plan, do, check, act, also called PDCA. It's setting up an experiment, setting up a hypothesis around that experiment, then doing the experiment, then checking or comparing what I expected to happen to what actually happened, and that's our moment of learning, and then I act on what I've learned, moving me forward, overcoming obstacles on my way to a target condition. Here's another way to look at it. out here on the right-hand side, we have this far away, vague vision. Could be decades out. Closer in, we have a challenge. And as a learner, I have to understand what that vision and challenge is. Then I grasp my current condition. I set an interim target condition. And then I overcome obstacles through experimentation between where I am and my target condition. A little bit more detail. I talked earlier about the connection between leadership's vision and challenge, or breakthrough strategies or breakthrough objectives. This is out here on the right-hand side. This is the task for leaders, establishing an organization's strategic concept, the overall direction, kind of the theme of where we need to take the organization. Now what we also have, and what Mike helped operationalize based on his study at Toyota, is a task for managers, a way to day-to-day coach through the application of the Improvement Kata in their area or level of responsibility. So again, the role of a challenge is that link between the task for leaders and the day-to-day management of moving the organization forward to achieving that challenge. Visions are, again, just distant, vague, far away, may never get there, often principle-based, destinations. A little bit closer in, we have this challenge, which is hard, concrete, metric-based, time-based, that we need to achieve. And then we have this daily routine of overcoming obstacles to achieve target conditions 1 week to 3 months out. Ultimately, these behaviors are, and the mastery of the skill, the mastery of the behavior is skill development. And the way we do that is through coaching, right? We have a routine, we practice it, hopefully daily, and if we have effective coaching with corrective feedback, we can ultimately master that skill, and our self-efficacy, our self-confidence is another way to do it, and our comfortableness with striving for far out tough challenges increases. The learner is practicing, but again, they're right there being coached along the way. These first routines, the coach is helping, instructing, really helping the learner through these routines. And once we're out here, once we begin to apply the scientific method and overcoming obstacles through experimentation, this is where the formal coaching kata or coaching routine occurs. And it takes place at each step along the way, right? The learner is setting up plan, do, check, act cycles. They lay out their experiment, they lay out what they expect, their hypothesis. They have a coaching cycle, and the coach walks them through these 5 categories of questions that represent kind of a thought process. It starts out with the what are we striving for? What's our actual condition now? What obstacles do we think are preventing us from achieving that target condition? Which one are you addressing? So it funnels us down to that one obstacle we're addressing. And now what's that one next step or experiment? What do you expect to happen? I.e. what's your hypothesis? And then when can we go and see what we have learned from taking that step? And that routine is repeated every step and preferably daily. Now, as I spoke to earlier, the coach has to have this, has to be 1, qualified, and 2, they have to be vested in the results the learner is striving to achieve. So in this example, this gentleman here is the learner. He is the natural process owner for this process. This is a storyboard where all of the documents used in the Improvement Kata are laid out, visible for everyone in the organization to see. So this is his coach in this case, and this coach has actually been in the role of the learner for some time. So he is qualified as a learner, ergo he's qualified to now teach it. Before you can coach it or teach it, you have to be able to do it. So the coach is qualified. The coach is also vested in the results this learner is striving to achieve. And that typically means that this coach is within the chain of command, or at least the chain of accountability for this learner. This isn't coaching done by, let's say, staff level. It doesn't come in from the side, per se. It's not a staff level coach. It's actually through that chain of command and or chain of accountability if you're in a matrix organization. And it's their boss, right? Direct or indirect, but that person, it's a person who has learned the routine and is held accountable for the results. And so typically the learner might be a supervisor and their coach is a manager, as an example. Could be the learner is a manager and the supervisor is a value stream chain owner, depending on your organization. But what's critical about this relationship is that it really helps to build strong relationships through this chain of command or chain of accountability. And the focus is on skill development of these learners and assuring alignment throughout the organization to the leadership's vision and challenge.